Hey guys, what's going on? This is Deadly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Deadly, the weekly show where I read your guys' questions and I do my best to answer them. I'll always be trying to choose the top comments first, so if you have a very similar question to another commenter, just upvote their question so it increases the likeliness of me answering that in the next video. The first question of the day comes from Canadian Goose. Hey Deadly, love your videos lately. It's probably reasonable to say that in DayZ, one of the most entertaining, interesting areas of gameplay is the player interaction, while gunfighting, holdups, trading, friendly encounters, etc. Do you think it's a challenge for developers aiming to make a survival open-world multiplayer game to make the survival aspects as interesting and entertaining as a new player interaction aspect? For example, keeping food levels high, staying warm. Already posted this question for a couple weeks, but I would like to hear your thoughts. Cheers, Lyndon. Well, Lyndon, I think the goal of DayZ Standalone is to force players to work together to fight off hunger, warmth, zombies, and bandits, and also encourage trading. So those aspects need to be at a certain level of difficulty where it's not too hard to the point where somebody who's completely lone wolf can't survive, but if they're working with even a stranger, it would make their lives a lot easier. You basically just explained the fundamental problem with creating survival MMO games. Some development companies just can't find that balance between regular survival gameplay and open world interactions and how they work together to make the experience fun. And I think Standalone right now, even with all of its problems, does it the best. The player interactions, surviving against the elements, hunting for food and water whenever you're not using any level of exploits. It's pretty entertaining and it will get better. I strongly believe that from what we've seen so far in the game files and what we've heard from the status reports, that DayZ Standalone is moving to more of a survival style of gameplay. More bushcraft, more building small little camps, like not big towers or cabins, but small little tent camps, storage camps, encouraging people to trade together, fight against illnesses, the elements, getting hazmat suits to raid military locations, more zombies, more dynamic events. So as DayZ Standalone progresses and even gets opened up to modding, I think you're going to be seeing more of that. And I think that like the balance between survival mechanics encouraging player encounters is something that Standalone does really well. And I don't know, share your opinions on this, but I honestly feel that that is probably one of the biggest thing that games like Miscreated lack. Like they might have a really beautiful environment. Their houses might look really cool. The guns might function in a pretty interesting way. But if their health mechanic is just fucking terrible, like you just right click a bandage and you start healing, or these like really basic interactions like making somebody to put their hands up and tying them up and knocking them out and robbing them or helping them, applying morphine, medical supplies. If those basic concepts are difficult, you're not going to have a fun survival MMO. It's just that plain and simple. As a 420 gaming developer and administrator, how do you feel about our games modes and servers? I'm aware you're not allowed to stream on our servers, but I would like to know the very least get your standpoint on them. Our goal is to only give /new experienced players an opportunity to actually PvP and practice their in-game skills. Okay, I'm going to first talk about practicing PvP with experienced players first. As you know, there are servers, and you guys can run these servers that are well within the rules as long as they're a private hive that allow players to PvP with having weapons in tents, barrels, protector cases scattered around locations like Berezino. Some of these servers are good versus evil and Bambi Land. And that's where the vast majority of people that I don't think anyone has ever been banned from playing on modded or illegal servers, but they can technically get banned for doing that. And as a broadcaster and a YouTuber, I can get banned for playing there while streaming or making videos on it. I can get what is called a DMCA strike, which could on YouTube and even on Twitch potentially remove my partnership completely, demonetizing my channel and ending my business. So of course, no streamer or YouTuber in the right mind who actually takes this seriously or does this as a part-time or full-time job is ever going to be streaming on any servers that don't follow the terms and conditions of Bohemia Interact. But it's really funny, I want to point out that a really big YouTuber who hasn't played DayZ Standalone for a long time that made a hate video on it actually played on that server and recorded footage for the discussion about how DayZ sucks, basically. I'm not going to say any names, but it was kind of funny. And I don't know if that video has been taken down or if Bohemia did anything because of it, but yeah, that means still, it's not worth the risk for me because I know how those World of Warcraft guys go with those vanilla private servers, and it's just not something I'm willing to get into. Now, how I feel about our game modes and servers. Well, again, you guys are sort of fighting against the developers, right? I mean, you're hosting servers. They don't want you guys to be hosting them. They don't want you guys to be running the modes yet. I mean, I don't know. I would patiently wait for modding if I were you guys. I mean, you're implementing weapons that are in the game files that are not ready to go yet, like the Saiga. I think I've seen a Desert Eagle, like a motorcycle, and like a bicycle, and the van, things like that are in the game files, and you guys are somehow pulling them in. I don't know how you guys are doing that. And I obviously know that, to my knowledge, you can't actually get to your server through the regular gaming browser anymore. So some sort of like third-party step needs to happen there. But yeah, I don't really know how you guys obtain the files, how you run the servers, how you connect to your servers. I've never played there. I don't really talk about it. It doesn't really cross my mind all too much. We don't get a whole lot of people who even talk about it in our chat. The odd time somebody asks me about it, but I don't really know much about what you guys do to even comment on it. But what I can say is from the videos I've seen of gameplay on those servers, and not just yours, but other ones too, it's just a bunch of dudes running around with 60 round mags, M4s up the ass, in backpacks, Gorka helmets, visors, the same old stuff. People just hip firing, just holding down the trigger basically because they have a almost unlimited amount of ammunition. It just doesn't look that fun to me, man, so yeah, I was never into those types of mods anyway back in the DayZ mod days. So I'm not going to be really interested in those types of like TDM sort of weird servers in the future. It's just not what I think DayZ is, so that's just the way it is. It may be just the game, but it's not fun to be killed instantly by some kid who ran up to me with a shotgun when he could have just held me up, took what he needed, and fucked off instead of forcing me to run miles across the coast for the 16th time in the day. I guess there was a couple other people telling you to get good, and then that was kind of triggersome. Probably not the most intelligent response there from the critics, not gonna lie guys, come on, step up your game. But no, seriously, in part, if you're dying 16 times a day, I know that's an exaggeration, but be real, you're gonna have to adjust your play style a little bit. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to step that up. If you're going to see somebody charging at you with a shotgun, pull out your gun and do your best to try to defend yourself. And if you can kill that guy, that's a positive story and encounter, and you're going to be remembering that for the rest of your day and for the rest of the character's life because you lived that scenario. So keep that weapon out. Not everybody's friendly. Remember that. And if they got a shotgun, especially just be like on guard, get ready for somebody to pull that out, or just kill them before they can kill you. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just gotta cheese somebody to stay alive. We've all done it, and you can feel a little bit of guilt. You can feel a little guilt about that, but just know that your character's alive and theirs isn't, and that's just part of the game. It's just survival. So the shotguns are devastating. They are very, very powerful, very close up. That's a lot of varies, but that's the point of a shotgun. It's a devastating CQB weapon, and a good thing to do when you see somebody with a shotgun and you don't want to deal with their bullshit is try to run beyond 100 meters away from them. It's going to be very difficult for you to die from somebody with a shotgun like above 100 meters, but it is possible, so don't be completely comfortable, but it's highly unlikely. So get some distance, don't trust people as much as you are now, because that's clearly a problem, and just try to build up that judgment of character. It can take a very long time, but eventually you'll get to the point where you can almost smell somebody's lies as soon as they open their mouth. The way they position their character, the way they're moving around you, what they're saying, where they're looking, what they're telling you to do. These are all tells and signs that will give you clues on the player's intentions. So sometimes there's a saying, you live long enough as a survivor to become the bandit, and that's typically what happens. So hopefully your luck will turn around, because I know for me and other DayZ players out there lately, it's been very tough in the world of standalone to get some good actions and encounters, that's for sure. So fingers crossed things will all turn around for us here in the next couple weeks. Do you think the smoke from the heli crashes should render from further away? In real life, I think that smoke would be visible for kilometers around. Love the videos and the streams. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't remember all that well about Edict's mod, but I think Edict's was like that. If there was a crash helicopter, the smoke rised really far and it drew a lot of people in. Right now, helicopters don't have shit on them. They're terrible. They're usually never worth going to because they're bugged. They haven't been spawning weapons for ages, and now the level of loot density on a helicopter is so small that it is honestly just never worth going to a helicopter. So, and that sucks. I mean, nobody wants that. It's such a cool part of DayZ that has been here for over 5 years through multiple different games and mods. It's iconic. Helicopter crashes, dynamic helicopter crashes. There needs to be an animation. Players should be able to see those helicopters crash. Smoke needs to be high up in the air. The level of zombies that are on those crashes needs to be reasonably difficult so people can work together to get that juicy loot. The helicopter game needs to be stepped up completely. Guns need to be spawning there too. The best gear in the game needs to be spawning on helicopter crashes. Alright, and the final question of the day is coming in from Jim Stebbins. What about the freshies, Deadly? What about those damn freshies? Okay, so I think he's referring to the ongoing discussion we've been having for the last couple weeks on kill on sight bandits. And I've already made 2 Ask Deadly episodes in a row and a large quantity of other ones specifically talking about this topic, which is probably one of the most discussed issues with DayZ standalone and games like DayZ. People killing Bambis. It's gonna happen. No matter what game you play, Miscreated, H1Z1 Just Survived, DayZ standalone, it's gonna happen, man. And that's just the way it is. What ends up happening is sometimes people get bored, and they're really kitted, they can't find anybody to fight, they eventually migrate back down to the coastal regions because that's where players spawn, and then they use their gear to basically bully and belittle and push around the people on the coast. I've done it. A lot of other people done it. It's just part of the game. You know, I kind of created a new rule set for myself over long periods of time. But of course, I used to be that guy too that used to shoot people on the coast sometimes with guns. Especially if you have a team that's holding down a town and you want full control over that town and you have Bambis running in and messing up your shit. So the way we do it now, and this is the way I've been doing it for the last couple of years, the rules of engagements on the Bambis, basically, and this crosses over to all of my games that I play. If somebody doesn't have a weapon out, I usually do not shoot them on sight ever anymore, unless I'm with a squad of people. And if that case, the rules of engagement are usually up to the squad. So if I'm rolling with a big bandit group and their rules of engagement is to shoot on sight pretty much everybody, I just follow that rules of engagement. If I'm on my own or if I'm leading a group, someone's gun is on their back, I try to rob them because I think it's funny and it can make some good content and it can be interesting and you might be able to meet somebody new and it could be fucking hilarious. But more often than not, I just get a bunch of like younger people who get really upset and angry and just start cursing at me, and then you just shoot them in the head. And when it comes to complete Bambis, though, you gotta be very careful about them, because in DayZ standalone, it's very easy for a Bambi to kill a fully geared player if you're not paying attention or you let your guard down. They can easily collect a stone, a stick, even a knife, a can of beans, brass knuckles, various melee weapons, and slap you in the head when you're not looking. So just because somebody doesn't have a firearm doesn't mean that they're completely useless. There's a number of times where I've been able to kill players easily with a sharpened stick or just a rock. I've made videos on that, and it's hilarious when it happens both ways. Getting killed like that is pretty funny to me, and also getting that kill is very entertaining. So I'm completely for it. I think it's a funny part of standalone that just needs to be there. But just keep in mind that Bambis have nothing to lose, and sometimes, especially when they come after you, you have to shoot them. But if people are just kind of mind their own business and moving inland, just let those guys be. Let them have their adventure. They're not trying to bother you. They're not trying to kill you. It just makes it a lot easier. They're not a threat to you, so you shouldn't really worry about those guys. And you can tell when somebody is lingering around. You tell somebody to leave the area, and they kind of linger on the edge of the town, and then you see them double back. They're coming back to try to get some of that juicy loot, okay? They're not coming back to say hi one last time. they're turning around, they want a piece of that, and then at that point, I think it's game on. If they want to try to take a stab at your loot, then you should shoot them in the face for it. That's just DayZ standalone. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this week's episode of Ask Deadly number 47. Man, almost at a full year of these QAs and doing daily videos here on the channel. I want to thank you guys for watching tonight and tomorrow morning. I think a lot of you guys actually end up watching these on Mondays, not Sundays now, because it's actually Monday morning. It's nearly 1 in the morning my time. So yeah, anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this week's videos. I'll see you guys tomorrow for some more DayZ standalone. I stream every single day, starting at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and Sundays at noon. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.